these are the things what we can do. We can take a seat at any place that you want, you know, relax, sit down, or stand, whatever works for you. We can close our eyes, keep our eyes open, whatever, again, that's your choice. I'm just kind of setting the environment, setting the ground for you guys. Also, what we can do is, let's be respectful and not look into other people's eyes, because, you know, you see, when you look, you almost want to talk, right? You want to talk. So we'll do our gaze, we'll lower our gaze, you know, we'll lower our gaze. That's what we'll do. Also, people will be coming in, so it's going to be a guided mindful meditation, so people will be coming in, so I will be, you know, giving a little bit of instruction. So, or if you can, my words are just basically for, you know, just to give you some ideas for the thoughts, but again, let this be your own personal experience is what this whole thing is about. So what we'll do is I'm going to put a timer. Let's do that. And I want to take permission from Dr. Weiss. Let me be sure. Okay, I think that's fine. Dr. Weiss, can I start?
I think you should.
Okay, I want to just be sure. Okay, so we're going to put a timer for 10 minutes. Again, I'm going to start with saying some stuff, see if it makes sense, and we will go into the zone. Okay. So mindfulness practice, I think many, you know, do understand the word mindfulness. And as I expressed earlier, that mindfulness is, you know, has been a great benefit at Ethos, and we find it very helpful when we work with everybody. The mindfulness that we learn, the teachings that have come from Mindful-Based Stress Reduction Program. This was designed in UMass, and the key founder was John Kabat-Zinn. So all the teachings are basically, they come off that program. That's where it's coming from. So we're going to set ourselves, we're going to take some deep breaths. You know, we take deep breaths, breathe in, breathe out. And again, if you want to lower your gaze and not look into anybody's eyes, you can close your eyes. That's welcome. If you have just arrived, you're most welcome to sit down. We're just starting a guided meditation. So let's start first with, where am I? Where am I? Let's explore, where am I? Let's breathe in, breathe out. And, you know, the thoughts are going to come in, and let's explore the thoughts of, where am I? And our mind, you know how it goes. One thought here, one thought there, and let's drag it back and ask ourselves, where am I? And let it explore. It can be, we're under a tent, we're surrounded by nature, we're next to a barn, we're at Ethos. It could be anything. It could be anything that you feel answering, where am I? And we'll move along. We'll move along to set our the pace here to bring about the mindfulness. And we'll move along and start working on our next. We'll take a couple more deep breaths. As you're arriving, you're most welcome to take seats. Take a deep breath. Breathe in, breathe out. We're just doing a mindful meditation. Okay, now let's explore the senses, right? What senses are you using? Smell. Can we smell? How about hearing? What am I hearing? Other than Asha's voice, what else am I hearing? If you have your eyes open, what am I seeing? What am I seeing? If you have a touch, whether you're touching or you're holding hands or you're holding something, the feel of touch. So let's explore those senses, the senses that we have. We're gifted with these amazing senses. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Those who just arrived, you're most welcome to join us. Just relax. All you have to do is just follow my voice. Just relax, sit down, breathe in, breathe out. All right, and there we go, our thoughts, right? What am I thinking now? What are the thoughts coming? The thoughts coming to me. What am I thinking? What am I thinking? We're going to breathe in, breathe out. What am I thinking? You can take your time to settle down if you've just come. Breathe in, breathe out. What am I feeling, right? We explode where am I, we explode our senses, we explode our thoughts. We are exploring of what am I feeling? Did I get dragged here? Did I come by myself? What was it? What am I feeling here now? Breathing in, breathing out. Where do I really want to be? Where do I really want to be? That's a big one. We will sit on this for a little more longer than we would like to, but where would I like to be? Breathing in, breathing out. If you've just arrived, you're most welcome to relax. We're just doing a mindful meditation. Just, take a seat that you feel comfortable. We're just taking a couple more breaths, breathing in, breathing out. And we are exploring, where do I really want to be? Where do I really want to be? Breathing in, breathing out. And now we're going to go into how can I enhance my experience of being here? How am I going to enhance my experience here? Let those thoughts just flow in. I know, our thoughts will be going back and forth, but let's explore our feelings on how can I enhance my experience of being here? You know, everything that we spoke earlier, how are we going to heighten it? Heighten that experience of being here. If you've just arrived, you're most welcome to sit down. We're doing mindful meditation. Take a couple of deep breaths. Breathing in, breathing out. And we are exploring, how can I enhance my experience of being here? And slowly and steadily enough, we're going to come back from where we were. We're just going to take a couple of seconds. Look around. You know, just explore. Use all of those senses. All of that. You know, I know I'm very nervous. When I hold the mic, I'm always nervous. So those were the thoughts running in my head. How is it? Peaceful, right? And, oops, there we go. 10 minutes, we did it. We did all our questions in 10 minutes, right? In 10 minutes, we got a lot done, right? How many thoughts went into our minds? And by the time I asked the next question, okay, let me pull my thought back, and then again the thought going. And I think that's the key part. I think it's this mindfulness. This morning when I was discussing with my husband, one of the things he said, the key, I think mindfulness really is about us. It helps us realize what we want to do. It helps us want to dig deeper in ourselves. So thank you for participating. What we're going to do is next we are going to get into our lifestyle panel discussion. So I invite the panel discussion to be up here. Our team, our Ethos team, and we also wanted Jim. There you are. Yeah, thank you, Jim. All right. So Jim has been brave to share his experience with Ethos, and I think it was, it's always with with somebody who's been through it, right? What did you go through in this 10 minutes, right? Something you went through? Your personal journey is always what makes us enriched, and that's what we thought, a personal journey, to hear it, hoping that it enriches you, inspires you, and that's the whole purpose. So as our team members are coming along, there we go, Dr. Weiss, Wendy, Anthony, we have them all up here. There we go.
Hello, everyone. So, Ron Weiss. So, in case you want to follow us here on the farm, we have all of our, we have a great Instagram page. And I love the Instagram because we post like regular active farming pictures. And you can, even though you're not near the farm, you can always keep up with the farmers and what we're growing here. We have a nice Facebook page, and if you need to contact us, there's our website. Okay, I think we can probably get rid of it. Okay. So, how did you like the mindful session? Good? So, the reason why mindfulness is so important to us is because unless you're aware and paying attention, it's difficult to accomplish goals. And it's, you know, it's hard work to keep doing day in and day out what we need to do as far as bettering our lifestyle behaviors to become healthy. It's easiest thing in the world to get a prescription from a doctor, unscrew the cap off the bottle and take a pill. It doesn't take any effort. But when everyone is eating a delicious cheese pizza and you can only have spinach, that takes a lot of effort and mindfulness. And when it's snowing outside and it's 20 degrees and it's warm in your bed, but you have to go because you should exercise and get up and go to the gym, it takes special effort. So, and it goes on and on. So I'm so glad, Asha, thank you for bringing that mindfulness to our practice. Asha is the holder and the director of our mindful nature here.
I'm still learning, so I'm still in the process of learning. Hopefully, I keep learning. I think it's a journey. All of us continue learning, so that's how I consider myself as a learner still.
Wonderful.
Beginner's mind.
Yes. So I'm going to let Asha take it away in a moment. What we decided to do as an important, we know everyone here is raring to hear Dr. Esselstyn, but what we thought would be a nice thing to incorporate into these farm days is an actual look at a patient and a person who has been on this mindful journey, and to show what is necessary really to accomplish a high level of living and health. So that's the purpose of these lifestyle panels, and I'm going to let Asha take it away, and we'll take it from there.
All right, thank you, Dr. Weiss. I'm still nervous. Man, the mindfulness did not help me. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, my name is Asha Gala. I'm a lifestyle coach here. Some of you probably know me, and some must get to know me. Don't mind. So I really want to thank you guys for your support and presence, because without this, these events are, they don't have a meaning. You guys coming here is a huge, it encourages us. We know that you want it. So please, if you want it, please come. Encourage your friends and families to come for such events. It helps us, it inspires us. So thank you so much. What we're going to discuss, as Dr. Weiss says, we are really going to speak a lot about the importance of coaching. We wanted to bring about, because I think coaching is just starting, people are just starting to understand. So we want to kind of bring about its applications at Ethos. We want to kind of use that. And as Dr. Weiss said, we do have Jim, and we're going to use his case study. So what the flow of our talk is going to be, I'll start with a little bit of overview, and after I'm done with the overview, we will be having a conversation with Jim, and a team up here will be sharing a piece of their expertise here too. So that's how the flow is going to be, and if we have time, I will let Anthony decide if they can ask questions. So he'll let us know if the Q&A is possible at the end. So please save all your Q&As at the end. So I wanted to start talking a little bit about the ethos, right? Dr. Weiss has been a great visionary. Come on, food as medicine, organic farm, human health, plant health, name it. He's trying to just get it all there, So we're really, as always, very grateful for his visionary, because he's a forward thinker, always, trying to bring in things that can bring, and that's how, the mindfulness is, again, another big part of that. It clearly, I wanted to kind of bring about that he was such a forward thinker that in 2014 he already started thinking that he needed a coach in his practice, and that's how forward thinker he is. I want to kind of keep that in mind, that because there are certain years that, as I talk about, just to show you how ahead of the game he was. He identified through his traditional practicing that there was a missing link. There's amazing healthcare providers out there, right? We have amazing teams out there. But he kind of figured out the missing link, and that's how he brought in coaching into his practice. He wanted to do. As you know, there are many patients who probably sometimes they understand what they want to do, they know what they want to do, but something is missing that they are not able to accomplish that. Somewhere, some link is missing. And I think Dr. Weiss figured out that for his patients, and he kind of linked it. I still need to read my notes. I'm not that good. Dr. Weiss, what he saw was wellness coaching was a great way to have a better, outcomes for helping his patient. That's what his vision was, and he brought it. What we understand today is that there's a lot of medical literature out there that shows the benefit of coaching. If you do research, Google, you'll see a lot of articles. There's a lot of research. Diseases like chronic illnesses like cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, blood pressure, ADHD, cancer pains, cancer survivals, asthma, weight loss. I mean, those are certain areas that you keep hearing how successful somebody has been in achieving their goals, health goals. And more research is coming, so I just want to keep lookout of it. There's more and more research coming on coaching and connection to health. How many of you have participated in sports since childhood? Come on, I need more hands. Come on. Since childhood. Okay. All right. How about you, Dr. Weiss?
How about you? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, how many of you have coached a team or, sports? Wow, good, okay. Yeah. So I think that's how I understood what coaching, I always related coaching with sports. That was my first introduction. So originally coaching became very popular in sports. And slowly, you see, it started continuing in other areas. You would see, it went into many, many areas. It explored into. And Dr. Weiss, what he did was he identified some core areas on where he could apply coaching. One of the main, he has 4 pillars that he's designed as you go through, if you start working with him, it's very interesting. He applied coaching into nutrition, physical activities, sleep hygiene, stress management. He's kind of trying to see how he can continue to support his patients. Health and wellness coaching took a large leap in 2017. So here's the number. 2017 is when it took its big leap, and 2014 was when Dr. Weiss already was ahead. So that's why I kind of was stressing on that number. Yeah. And it is fascinating that that's when, in 2017, a team of coaching psychologists, what they did is they created a certification exam to establish new and high standards for coaching, and this certification is overseen by Board of Medical Examiners. And interestingly, when I was discussing with him yesterday, he says, guess what, Asha? My medical license came from there too. So he kind of took, so it is a very serious move. That is very excited. We are at Ethos very excited about it too, about this. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the coaching aspect, that a coach first has to walk the talk. And, you know, the coaches, if they are not walking the talk, so that's a key. So if you ever work with a coach, look out for those, you know, they have to walk the talk so they can help anybody. The areas that the coaches help the clients, what they end up doing is they increase self-awareness, they increase self-knowledge, they're increasing personal responsibility, you know, with the clients or patients that they're working with the coaches. They'll acquire new knowledge and skills to create a sustainable behavior, because the whole point about coaching is to have a sustainable behavior, right? I mean, that's the whole point, and it's a continuous process. Because behaviors, I think, like I personally feel, 20 years, and you ask my husband, he still thinks that I need to work on still many behaviors. So don't talk to him. We increase life satisfaction. That, I think that's fantastic. The coaches do that. They increase self-efficacy. I can do it. I love that. When we work, and if you hear it from our coaches, that is the deep feeling, is when the clients or patients can say, I can do it. It really is very rewarding for us. There's a sense of purpose and meaning. You know, that's what we kind of enhance as we're continuously coaching. And the thing is, as when we work, we all strive to become the best selves we are. So I am still working on my becoming the best self. 20 years, still in progress, right? So what I'll do is I want to take this opportunity to introduce this amazing panel that I have here. We have coaches, Anthony, Wendy, and Karina. They are coaches. And then we have Sarah. She works pretty closely with Dr. Weiss, and she gave her MCATs recently, and she is aspiring to be an amazing future whole plant-based physician. So it's, you know, it's a pleasure an honor to be here with this panel. And we already met Jim. So what I'll do is I'll ask Dr. Weiss. Dr. Weiss, would you share a little bit details about Jim, and that way we can start the discussion?
So, as Asha said, you know, when in the old days when I had my original practice, I would have patients come in. They would be obese. They'd have chest pain. They'd have high blood pressure. They'd have all the chronic illnesses, and I would sit with them in the room, and I would talk to them for as long as I could. I would examine them. I would tell them what's wrong with them. I would tell them that these pills are not going to make you well. They're just sustaining you in your illness. And then I tell them about plants. I tell them how they had to change their diet and the way they were living. I would give them Dr. Esselstyn's book to read. I'd give them Forks Over Knives to watch on Netflix, and I'd lose them. It's hard as a working doctor to get the patient and move into their house and look at what they're doing and call them up 24 hours a day and chase them away from the all-you-can-eat buffet. It's very hard to do that. And I realized that I wasn't very effective. I wasn't an effective physician because I was no longer writing that prescription for a blood pressure pill. I was asking them to convert their religion. And you can't do that in 45 minutes or an hour. And I got frustrated, and that's where I began to think, you know what? I know that I'm important in delivering the message, in the diagnosis, in finding out ways I can help the patient as a physician, but I really need someone to help the patient change their behaviors at home and where they're living. And I think that is the enormous value of what coaches do to help change someone's religion. It's like changing from Jewish to Muslim, or Muslim to Catholicism, or Catholicism to Buddhism. It literally takes that kind of sea change in order to change who you are and what your health is. And with that, this young gentleman walked into our office soon after New Year's on 2018, January 28th. So it's been about a year and a half. And so this is Jim. So Jim, can you tell us, I know you came in with a host of problems. Can you just give us a thumbnail about what medical problems you came to us with, and tell us about your diet over your adult life or even since your childhood?
Sure. So I came to Dr. Weiss about a year and a half ago, but before then, maybe about six and a half years ago, I started to make a change into what I thought was a whole food plant-based diet. Before then, I was pretty much eating a standard American diet. I'm 56 today. So 50 years. Sure. So 50 years prior to that, I was eating pretty much a standard American diet. I had a little vegetarianism in my 20s, but for a good 30 years, I was just eating a standard American diet. But when I hit 50, I really I don't want to say it was a midlife crisis, but I really started to see a trajectory of where my health was going, and I was concerned. So I think like a lot of us, I saw forks over knives, and it really changed and opened up my eyes as to what I was doing, and it gave me the power to make some changes on my own. So I went into it very gradually, and I started to make those changes. So a couple years of doing it on my own, I realized I needed more help than that, so that's when I reached out to Dr. Weiss. Even after a whole food plant-based diet, I was still taking medication for high cholesterol. My triglycerides were off. I have a hypothyroidism, so that was off. And I was taking a blood pressure medicine also.
Okay, and that's how we met Jim. So when you came to us, you were already, would you say vegetarian or eating a plant-based diet?
I was a vegetarian.
Okay, vegetarian.
If you have a seat next to you, just raise your hand, so anybody who wants standing, they're most welcome, just so everybody knows.
Thank you. Okay, so we have, in our practice, we have different ways of helping people. I would say about 50% of all the people who come to this place who are in need of assistance or looking for medical care, they're omnivores. They're either eating the standard American diet or they're omnivorous. And about half of them are either vegan or eating some form of a plant-based diet. So Jim came to us vegetarian. He was, I think, an important thing to note is that a few years before you came, you had suffered from a retinal vein occlusion, right? Retinal vein occlusion is a threat to vision. It's actually the second leading cause of vision loss in the United States after diabetic retinopathy when it comes to vascular attacks on the eye. And so when that had happened to Jim, I think the eye doctor was really concerned because high blood pressure and being overweight are major risk factors to get this vision loss. And so then you were referred to another doctor and they put you on the blood pressure medicines, and that's how you came in. So when people come to us, we see what they need. We do have different programs of education programs. We have coaches and different ways that we can sort of bring the patients along. But if you don't need a program and you feel that you can just read a book or you can see a movie, you can do it yourself. And I think in the beginning, that's
what I thought. Yeah.
That's what Jim chose. He chose to, we give you homework to do, right?
Absolutely.
Every time I saw you like 6 times.
Every time.
we would give them a whole page. What kind of things would we tell you to do? Read books and articles and.
It was read books, read articles. There was be mindful about certain things. There were exercises that you gave me. There was meditation, and
self-study.
change my diet. Yes.
Self-study.
Self-study.
And you did, from what I remember, how fast did you really change over to a diet of whole plant foods and cut out all animal foods?
From the moment I saw you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that was in January, and by September of 2018, last year, you'd gone from a weight of 205, and you're about, how tall are you?
5'10".
5'10". So 205, which is, over, that's maybe about 40 or 50 pounds, 40 pounds overweight, 50 pounds overweight. And you lost 7 pounds.
Exactly.
By September. So from January, in 9 months, on a whole food plant-based diet, loss of 7 pounds. In someone who probably needs to lose more weight, but we never, I'm not really concerned with how fast someone loses weight, but sometimes what I see it at, I just wanted them to keep losing weight until they get to a natural goal. But sometimes I start to notice that if they're not losing weight quickly enough, it's an indicator that maybe the food is not at the highest level.
Exactly.
And is that?
And that's exactly it. I mean, I was eating lots of nuts. I was eating lots of processed cereals and things like that, and which, although technically might be whole food plant-based, are not necessarily good for someone who's trying to lose weight.
So we'll fast forward to, I saw you about 6 times this past April.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm sorry, this past January, about 5 or 6 months ago. And you'd slowly dropped another 10 pounds. You were down to 189. So basically, in a little over a year, you lost about 16 pounds.
Correct.
Okay. And that's when I think I recommended that perhaps coaching, to have a coach to help you to achieve maybe levels that you just couldn't get there on your own, would be useful. So Asha started to coach Jim. Asha, tell us what happened. I'm gonna let the coaches, these expert coaches, describe how they can take someone to the next level. But all I can tell you is 3 months after, after a year of Jim trying to get there on his own, there was a marked difference in 3 months where he lost a large amount of weight, and all of a sudden his triglycerides, for which he was taking a medicine for many years, were completely normal, off of the medications. And a few months before that, off of all the blood pressure medicines. So no more blood pressure medicines, no more triglyceride medicines. So, and down about 30 pounds, down 30 pounds. Yeah. So let's find out how that happened.
So I think the interesting thing Dr. Weiss brought is the time lag, right? He started in Jan 2018, and he came back. He continued working, but finally in January 2019, not much progress. So you see where, and that's how our coaches are going to share with you what they really do. I'm going to start asking. We're going to cover some important aspects of what we do, right? What is it that inspired him to get there, or motivated him? And we are going to start that. So I'm going to start with asking, mainly I wanted to kind of bring about that coaching can be effective in replacing these lifestyle factors. It's pretty fascinating. Jim, would you share any memories of your first session and its effect? Your first coaching session?
Sure. We met in your office. I know that was important to you to meet. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We met in the office. I know that was important to do it face-to-face. We talked at length about my mindset, what I was doing, where some of my stumbling blocks. I think, in all candor, you just kind of let me ramble for a good while, and I could see you were sort of absorbing everything and sort of processing as we were talking. And I think after I talked for maybe half an hour straight, you started to pull out a little more questions out of me, and then started to talk to me about what I thought about some practices that I could start to incorporate initially.
Yeah, thank you. So what we were doing, and Karina's going to take away, but I want to kind of share with you that us coaches, we were trying to build some kind of a trust, right? Because unless they don't trust us, so that's what I'll let Karina share how important it is to do that, right, for the coaches.
Right, yeah, it really is the cornerstone of behavioral change. We are first and foremost emotional beings. So we must feel understood and safe. So the coach has a short amount of time really to make an excellent impression and really become an advocate for that patient. So we try to show concern, of course, that's easy. We love people. We love the people who come through our door. We've self-selected for this kind of work. So we must be honest, show integrity and sincerity. As Asha mentioned, we also have to have gone through this path. I don't know who would really believe me as a coach if I didn't know exactly what it meant to go to a wedding and order a salad and eat the crudité vegetables and then have the fruit at the end and tell myself when I got home I could make myself a nice bowl of chili. So we have to make sure that people understand that we know we've come through this transition and it's great on the other side. We're free of worry for the most part about health issues and we feel better, our energy is good. So we have to relay that in a short amount of time. We also have to establish a really clear agreement. Make sure they know what coaching is and what it isn't. So it's a nice, tight relationship. It's not therapy, but we're there for them. And most importantly, we have to really make sure that as they take on new behaviors, prepping for food, for some people looking up recipes, this is brand new. Making a list, going to the market once a week, chopping vegetables twice a week, not letting all the produce turn black in the refrigerator. These are new skills that some people have never tried, and they have a very natural fear of failure. So we have to walk them through all of that. And one of my favorite quotes is from the coaching psychologist Carl Rogers, and he said the really interesting thing or the curious paradox is that once I truly accept myself, that is when I can change. So we model that acceptance, and then the patient or the client can accept where they are, and then they can be open about their struggles. And with each struggle, we can problem solve, and we always ask permission to move into a sensitive area. It is, the client is the expert. It is our privilege to be working with them. And if we sense that we're moving into a sensitive area, like weight loss for some people, or family history of health, or things like that, we always ask permission. So I think next, right?
Thank you. Thank you, Karina. So Jim, so thank you, Karina. She kind of gave us an overview of what really our goals are initially when we get in touch. So Jim, would you give us a description? We've had, I think first time I met him was in February of 2019. That was our first session. So just to kind of even give you that outline. And we've had about 5 sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And can you describe to us the coaching presence? Because in all of the 5 sessions, what kind of coaching presence you experienced through those?
Oh, you're fantastic. I mean, what I like about it, my personal experience with it is that I feel like after doing this for decades, of being on diets, of roller coaster rides and all those things, I wasn't interested in that. And you very specifically and individually listened to what my unique approach to it was. And everyone's approach is unique, of course. And that, I think, was probably the most important thing, because then you could say, well, you were all about the tweaks and how do we refine this so that you can continue to do this for the rest of your life. And I think that was instrumental in just, we went slowly, you really listened and you really understood what my experience was with eating.
And so in order for me to listen, in order for me to really absorb everything, there is a certain kind of coaching presence that the coaches have to bring about. And I just want to bring one of the key things, Jim, Jim always shared that, hey, I've been dieting all my life. That was always his thing, is this going to be another, sway thing, and then we always said, no, we'll figure it out. We went at that pace that he could handle. So I'm going to let my colleague Wendy, she will share with us, as a coach, what is the coaching presence that we bring about when we do our sessions?
I love the first point that you spoke about, Jim, which is flexibility. Flexibility is huge. We listen to the patient and we listen to their perspective and need to be flexible. So yeah, there's guidelines that we fit, but within that, everybody is, as an individual, needs to come from a different angle and be flexible with that. We are also just being present, listening, watching. So if we're in front of somebody and we can visually listen to their voice, the connotation of their voice, where they might need more encouragement because they're a little bit scared, or just seeing their face if somebody looks like they're puzzled, and you can also hear that as well.
And Wendy, I want to share, she's amazing even on the phone. If you listen to her, because even though there were sessions that we do over the phone or whether it's video, she will be able to absorb how you feel just listening to your voice.
It's that intuitive portion.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes people can't get away from me with things. They get one word out. I'm like, okay, what's wrong? So, and that's a great deal of it too, is really being able to be present and listen to what's going on, to then know, do we need to encourage them? What direction? Have we gone too far? Do we need to step back and just listen to where they are a little bit more? And with that is being curious. There are several times that somebody will mention a brand of vinegar or this or that and ask me. And, there's millions of products out there. I'm not going to know them all. So I will admit I don't know that, or I'm not familiar with that particular plant. There's many that I can help people with, but we learn from our patients as well. So that's a great thing. So I love when somebody says something to me that I'm not familiar with, so then I can go research it and then share those positive things with others also. Knowing when to help somebody. Sometimes they're not exactly ready for it, as Karina said. So knowing exactly when they're ready to listen to it. This self-discovery. So it's not just us saying something, it's asking the proper questions so that there's self-discovery, because just like Dr. Weiss gives people homework so they get their own education, it's that self-discovery which really makes changes over time. And empathy, that's the last one, is really having empathy. And each one of us through our journey through life can understand the ups and downs and how difficult things can be. And it will continue to amaze me that people come to us in probably the most tumultuous times of their lives, death, divorce, and they have the courage and strength and conviction and say, I'm going to do this now because, I just saw my best friend in a casket and that's not going to happen to me. I'm taking the initiative right now and I'm going to change my path for the future. And I really respect and honor that they are that strong to do it and have that much conviction. It's absolutely wonderful.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you very much. So we're going to move on to our, we're going through these different concepts that are there in coaching, and we're kind of exploring. So Jim, I'm going to can you share, I know we had these 5 sessions, you had the care plan, And what we did is the outcomes in achieving these care plans. If you can share all the actions, how did you follow, what kind of, if you can just throw some light on those care plans.
Sure. So at the end of every session, Asha would give me a care plan. Per our discussion, it was things that I should specifically be working on, I guess challenges that you thought I could meet over a certain time frame. And we always set a date. We'll meet in 4 weeks. We'll meet in 2 weeks. And, we both sort of determined what that time frame should be. The care plan could be anywhere from, try eating, this many greens per day, review these videos, try incorporate meditation into what you're doing, or even simple things like be mindful and just notice when because I came to her a few times and I said, I come home after work and I find it's a real weak moment for me and I'm eating, some very high caloric items. And so she said, be mindful. And so maybe one of the exercises would be just to be mindful about the food that I'm eating. One of the most helpful things that you gave me was food journaling. And I'll be honest, I kind of hate doing it because it's a pain in the neck. But I know, but it has been incredibly insightful in understanding, how much food I was eating and what kind of foods I was eating. And to me, it was a real bright, illuminating moment for me.
Thank you. After hearing Jim, all of this, I want to ask Anthony, as a coach, because when we work as a coach, we have to figure out a way to brainstorm this with them that they can do, right? Not what we want from them that they are. So can you share that?
Exactly. In fact, I prefer being a coach because I don't have to tell anyone what to do. I'm in the luxurious position to help people to do what they want to do and help them figure out what they want to do for themselves. The process is very client-centric by nature, and that's why it works. And that's how it works. We've all had people telling us what to do our entire lives, but it's not always what we will end up doing. It's not what we'll always end up sticking with. So what it requires is a lot of exploration on the part of the client and the coach. And Jim, I love that you said you hated food journaling, but then you did it. So at some point you made the decision to do that, and really overcoming those things that are difficult to do is where the growth comes. So as the coach, one of my favorite things to do is spend extra time exploring. So when someone thinks they have a plan, they know exactly what they want to do. I'm going to batch cook on Sunday. I'm going to eat this for breakfast on Monday. I'm going to bring my lunch to work every day. I like to say, okay, let's just imagine that you couldn't do that. What else would you do? Or what other things could we do? Because as the coach, we want to pull these things out and we want to imagine any barriers or obstacles as they might come, and we want to be prepared. And in my mind, that's helping the client to ask themselves the hard questions and to develop those answers to those hard questions in ways that maybe they didn't initially think about. And I think it becomes very powerful.
Thank you very much, Antonina. Thank you. So yeah, we heard how brainstorming is key because what they want, a very important key point that he pointed out. Jim, how did the support and accountability help towards your health goals? Because I wanted to specifically one area that I wanted to go. Would you elaborate on how you finally got motivated on exercising? Because that was a struggle we had, and it did not happen until the session 4.
Exactly, yeah. Along with food journaling, I hate exercising. So I realized somewhere in the process of all of this that if I just gave myself 2 short spurts of the suggestions, the food journaling, I said, when I've done it in the past, I've really learned a lot. So just be a big boy and just do it for a certain period of time and then try and listen to what it's teaching me. So for the exercising, that's what I did. I said, you're just going to commit to, I think it was 3 months until my next checkup. I said, you're just going to do this. You're not going to think about it. You're going to do it every day. And I pretty much did it. And that's when I saw the most dramatic increases. I felt better. It's everything you hear. You feel better. you know, you may hate putting the sneakers on, but the minute I came back, I was like, God, I was so glad I did that, you know, and that's the thing that kept me moving. You would do the activity, you would see the results.
Thank you, Jim. No, and that's one of the things. That's why I stressed on session 4, not session 1, 2, 3. We've got it at 4. I'm going to ask Sarah, because she's a fitness trainer, certified fitness trainer. And can you share why session 4? Why not 1, 2, 3? Why we were so, what is this about this fitness?
So I definitely think exercise is really hard for people to incorporate. And I think there are 3 different reasons or, different aspects of why it's so difficult for people to start exercising. And I think number 1 is inertia. Number 2 is habit building, and number 3 is identity. So inertia, if you've done something a certain way your entire life, or you haven't been an exerciser, it's easier to just remain not being an exerciser. Also, the habit building component, if you have to, change your life, lots of us work, we have responsibilities, we have children, we have school. So figuring out where in your life you're going to incorporate that new habit and make it a consistent behavior is one of the reasons it's really difficult to start exercising. And then the third thing, which I think is most important and most central, that I think people often skip over or forget about, is having the identity that you are an active, fit person. Because I think often when we're trying to change behaviors or we're trying to incorporate new habits in our lives, let's take exercise, for example. We think of ourselves as, oh, I'm trying to start exercising. We think of the action as something that's separate from us, rather than changing our identity to think of ourselves as people who are fit and active. And it's the same thing with food. Like, you have to change your associations and change your perspective on yourself so that you become someone who does not miss a workout. You become someone who overcomes obstacles to exercise. So I think that's what makes it difficult. And I think another thing is that I think common to the discourse around health and fitness is that if you're eating well, you don't have to exercise, or that you exercise because you're canceling out what you ate. Like, I hear so many people like, oh, I exercise so I can have that extra slice of pizza. That's not what exercise is for. And I think it's really important for us to disseminate the message that exercise has its own benefits that are separate from how you eat. So it's incredible that Jim changed his diet and became a whole food plant-based eater. But the fact that he didn't exercise before he began, those benefits he was missing out on, unfortunately, by not exercising. And I think that adding the exercise in complemented the food. Like, you're getting, not only are you getting the nutrient density of the foods that you're eating, but when you exercise, you're improving your cognitive health, you're improving your energy levels, you can recover better because you're eating such a great diet. So just thinking them as complementary components and part of lifestyle medicine together is so important. And that's why when we talk about our practice and what we do, as coaches and as Dr. Weiss speaks to and counsels his patients, we don't just say whole food plant-based nutrition, we say lifestyle medicine, because there are a variety of pillars that all work together to get you to the pinnacle of good health.
Thank you so much, Sarah. So that was helpful, right? We heard the trust. Karina gave us a great way, how trust and rapport. Wendy, how the coaching presence was important. Anthony shared about the brainstorming. And I would just want to say another last aspect is the support and accountability. That food journaling is an accountability. So all of these 4 concepts are brought in by us coaches, and I think that's what the whole lifestyle changes comes through. As we wrap up, would you like to say something? Yeah.
Yes. Well, let's see. What time do we have? So it's 12:01. Yeah. Why don't we take a few questions?
Yeah.
And then I think.
Oh yeah.
And
okay.
then we'll.
Thank you, Anthony.
We'll
As I said,
have Dr. Esselstyn come up.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, as I'm sitting here listening to all these wonderfully articulate coaches, that it makes me think that as a physician, that you said something very interesting, Anthony, when you said that, coaching is not about telling people what to do, right? That's key. Because you know what doctors do? doctors tell people what to do. Right. The way doctors are trained are as experts. We went to the university, the medical school, we have all the knowledge, but the directive comes from above. It's not a level playing field with the patient. We analyze, we see what the problems are, we'll come up with a care plan. This is what you need to do, now go do it. And the most wonderful thing working with coaches is that the coaches are more collaborative with the patient and not, it's kind of like, they're not in the driver's seat like a doctor is. They're like in the driver's ed seat. Like in driver's ed where you have your teacher and he doesn't have a steering wheel, but he has like a brake just in case, you hit a tree. And I've learned so much from that I've thought that I've seen myself changing as a physician because it's so valuable to not always tell people what to do. You have to be more receptive and more sensitive and to listening. And I think the coach's aspect has taught me as a physician to be less directorial and more listening and open so that I can hear the patient more and then serve the patient better. So I love that about coaching.
So we have just 2 questions. Okay, one. Anybody has a question? Okay. You have to yell out. Yeah, you can shout and I'll do the question.
Can you just, did you have you mentioned thyroid issues, you had hypothyroidism after your 1.5 year or time frame were you able to get off medicine?
No, that's the one medicine that I still take now.
And just a comment about hypothyroidism. You know, it's very common, and we have many people coming with hypothyroidism, and they always ask that question. You know, when you need to take thyroid supplement, it's not a medication, it's actually an exact molecular analog. It's a copy of your own hormone, which is synthetically produced, and you take it in a pill form. So what that means is your thyroid, part of it is gone. It's just not there anymore, and it can't produce the thyroid. Even still, I would say we see about 20% of all patients who come, even after years of being on thyroid supplements, they can get off. Once they adopt a diet of whole plant foods. About 80% not, but there is a minority that can. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yep.
Okay.